Hey everybody, tonight we're going to do a general update, and this will be number 7. What I have in front of you here are the last 10 that came in the mail. I didn't really plan it that way, but that's how it turned out. And I just thought it'd be a good time to go over some things that I found out along the way, maybe some tips that might be useful to you. Maybe you didn't see the original video. There is a review for each one of these. You can go back on my channel if you want to watch those. They're going to be longer than this and much more detailed. Tonight we're not going to weigh and measure stuff. We're just going to talk about each piece a little bit and point out some things. So please stick around. First item on the menu is the DOM EDC piano. This is the full stainless steel version, and you can get this in a lot of different versions. The first version I had was PEI, much lighter, so this feels very heavy to me. The interesting thing about this design is that in one direction you get 5 clicks and 5 clicks, and in the other direction you'll get 4 clicks, and the 4th click is a longer click. When I say longer, I mean there's a greater distance before that last click engages. So that adds to it, believe it or not. I really like these. I think they're worth it. I think that's about all I have to say about that. I'm pretty sure this came with quite a lot of spare parts too. The next one is called the multiple, actually the next two are called the multiple track, and I'm going to say by unknown maker because I don't know for sure. They both have a Teflon liner in the middle. They're both 2-layer. They both travel in both directions. You can actually, there are 4 tracks, physically 4 tracks, but there's not 4 different tracks. There's only 3 different tracks. These 2 on the outside are actually the same. And then here you have the least dense pattern, and over here you have the most dense pattern. But on the outside too, you have sort of an in-between. Right now I think I have it running on the least dense pattern, and you'll get 8 clicks in either direction. And you can tell the PEI is pretty loud when you compare it with this. This one's a bit pingier. This one's a little louder in the click, but it has a ping to it. These both have a tiny little lanyard hole, but I would hesitate to put anything. I would hesitate to hang this off anything for fear of that tiny thin piece of material breaking. But these are interesting. These are interesting. This next one, I had to sort of give it a name, and I just tried to describe it as best I could. I called it the 3-level hybrid pivot slider by Viva. The top part is mechanical, the bottom part is magnetic, and the bottom part is a pivot. So the best way I've found to do it was this. You kind of end up with a USB shape, which I like that. But it kind of makes the lanyard attachment in the middle kind of silly, because you wouldn't really use this with a lanyard on it if you're going to be pivoting it at all. Now, if you don't want to pivot, if you want to take the pivot feature out of this altogether and have it be more like a Mackie CP2, although this is not like a Mackie CP2, because the Mackie CP2, I just don't believe it's the same in all respects. It's similar, but of course Mackie CP2 doesn't pivot. What I was going to say was, if you want to make it a non-pivot slider, is it comes with some very small, I think they're 2mm balls, and I forget how many to put in each side. It's in my review video for this one. You can go back and look. You can install those, and that keeps the bottom part in line so that it doesn't twist at all, and then you get a slider that only goes back and forth. Now, my thoughts on this one, and I want to talk about some other titanium ones after we get through this one, is that titanium against titanium sticks. I always preach that. But sometimes they get it right. Like this one, it's not bad, but I've got to tell you something about it here. We'll get to it in a minute. This one, I think in my review I pointed out that if you push down on this at all, the sliding mechanical part on top gets very tight because it doesn't want to grind against the material, the titanium against titanium. You can see the wear when I turn the reflection of the light. You can see it's wearing just on that edge there. And then of course they have PVC tape for over the magnets. I have not tried it without the PVC tape on the magnets. So hopefully it will work okay without it. It looks like the magnets are all below the below the flush surface, so it's not like the magnets are going to interfere with anything. But will the titanium rubbing against titanium be a problem? I don't know yet. Maybe we'll cover that on a down the road general update. But yeah, so this one, it is, I've said it in the review video, it's tight if you press down on it, but if you push it from the side, no problems at all. Now going backwards isn't so easy, I don't think, because when you go backwards, you tend to want to push down on it. It's kind of a task to catch this up at the front and push it backwards. But it is easy to push it forward. I find myself, this is my typical play pattern or flow. Sometimes I'll just do the mechanical portion, and then sometimes I'll rip the whole thing open, bring the mechanical part back, and then the magnetic part. And if I'm not doing that, I'm probably rotating it. But very nice, very nice. This one, what I wanted to say about this is in my video, I know I said it was smooth as silk, even if you push down and squeeze on it. Well, guess what? After a while, again, you can sort of see the wearing, the reflections off these edges. It's interesting because only the outside edge is wearing, and you see the only outside edge is here. So I think they've made an effort to minimize the amount of surface contact that there is between the plates. So it worked really well right out of the box, but now I've noticed after a few weeks that it is getting a little bit, if I push down on it at all, if I squeeze it at all, it tightens up a little bit. But this is one, if you just push it from the back and don't put pressure down on it, it works really good. But you might be disappointed if you're somebody that has to squeeze on this because it's going to grind, it's going to feel grindy and stuff. Now another thing I didn't bring over with me here, I should get, I will get it. Here we go. I wanted to get my clip. I've made a video about these too. This is just a really convenient, little easy to make lanyard clip. Well, this one wasn't easy to make, but then I'm not a paracord knot tire. And I had to look up how to do that and then learn how to do it and fail several times. The simplified version is just to shove some paracord through there and melt the end and just find yourself a nice bead. But these clips you can get on Amazon for cheap, and they're just the right size for a lot of sliders like this one, for instance. You can pop this in, and that dramatically, by putting a lanyard on this, not only do you not risk dropping it on a concrete floor, but it gives you an added grip that you didn't have before, and it allows you to sort of hold it in a downward position and get easier access to these back edges right here. So it just becomes much easier to use with a lanyard, and you're much less likely to have it bind up on you from squeezing it. Of course, it does not go backwards, it's just this way and then back. And it's, I believe it's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, 20 altogether. But yeah, the lanyard clip thing, go watch the video on that. I'll teach you how to make one, and I'll give you a link for where to find these on Amazon. It's not affiliated. I'm not making any money off of these clips or anything. But that's pretty handy, and you can use it on a few other sliders too. Unfortunately, of all the ones we have in front of us here today, that's the only one that it'll fit. The only other two that have lanyard holes, well, this has a lanyard hole, but it's in their middle, if you remember. And even if I wanted to put, I could put it on there if I want, but it's not going to work because it's getting in the way now. So, did a poor job of demonstrating that, but maybe not. Maybe I did a good job of demonstrating that. These are just way too small of a hole. That's only about a 3mm hole, and this is a little bit more like a 4mm or 3.5. It just won't fit, and I'd be afraid to break that anyhow. While we're here on the subject of titanium, I'm going to bring out these other two. Now, these are not two that I bought within the last period of time that I bought these. This is the before time. This one I put in nylon balls, and it was really sticky before, and I think it's in pretty good shape now. It seems to wear pretty evenly. This one is prone to getting sticky as well if you squeeze it. Same story. I really don't like to carry this one. I really don't like to carry it without a clip, just because it makes it work every time the way you expect it to every time. Otherwise, you're trying to hold it in your hand and keep from dropping it on the floor, and in the process, you're inadvertently squeezing these parts together. So that's what I think about that. I just want to reinforce that idea that titanium is kind of a risk when it comes to friction surfaces. And this one here was lower priced, I think, because it doesn't offer as much as these. These are all by Tyviva, I might add. I don't think I've mentioned that, but this one, this one, this one, and I think, well, this one says Halu or Halu. I don't know if that's Tyviva or not, but these three are Tyviva, and this one is just another simple back and forth. How many? I think it's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm sorry, 10 in both directions. But this one being titanium, it doesn't always, you almost have to push on it, push down on it in order to move it backwards, because it's, again, it's difficult to get up here in front of it and push it back. But if you just push it forward and bring it back, and you're not concerned with bringing it backwards, see, bringing it backwards makes you sad. Bringing it forward makes you happy. It's just a nice, it feels nice, 10 little clicks there. I don't know if I put the nylon balls in this yet or not. I kind of feel like I tried that and it was too weak. The interesting feature about this one, it was the first time I encountered using stacked set screws in order to lock the first one in place, which makes total sense. You often see that in reverse, but in this case, they've put a set screw down in these 3 holes. The middle one is your limiting post that rides in this track down the middle, and the other 2 screws are for these detents. So underneath those screws are springs and balls. The one in the middle is the stacked set screws. So there's a set screw that sticks out the bottom just enough to fit in this little track on the inside there, and if it stuck out any further, it would interfere and rub against the back of the plate. So you have to get it in there at just the right place, and then you put the second set screw in behind it and tighten it down, and that effectively locks those 2 set screws in place. And that way, while you're playing, you know, the one part that's going to get the most vibration and impact is that limiting screw in the middle. That's what's hitting against this surface and this surface. I should just take this off. Oh, it's getting in the way. So the limiting post or the limiting screw is impacting this side and this side over and over again, and it could come loose, but not now, because they've put one screw on top of the other screw. that locked it together. You know, the only other option with most of these designs is to apply some Loctite yourself. And if you have to do that, then I recommend Loctite 222. It's purple. Everything you usually hear about is the 242, and that's Loctite blue. Those are both, the purple and blue are both temporary, but the blue is much stronger, and the purple is much more forgiving. I think it's perfect for our type of needs because you can unscrew things without breaking your tools. It's like I said, it's like a Loctite. It is a temporary Loctite, the purple, the 222, but it has a weaker strength than the 242. Anyhow, let's move on from there. Okay, are you a Cybertruck fan? Because I think that's what they're calling this one, the Cybertruck. I think that's what I called it in my review anyhow. I saw it referred to as the pickup, the Cybertruck, the Cyber something other or other. One side is mechanical, it's this side. Flip it over, and you have a magnetic side. And it's fairly well made. I'm a little concerned with the screws coming loose on this one. Not so much on the mechanical side. Not so much these two screws. Well, you can't see the other screw right now, but there's two. More this screw here to keep an eye on. One of them, I forget which one. Honestly, I forget which one. I want to say it's one of these. It's one of these limiting screws on the inside. I believe it definitely needs to be Loctited, and I have not done that yet here. But when I was doing my review, if you go back and look at my review on this, I'll detail that for you as to why I think it should be there. I'm pretty sure eventually it could vibrate loose and then fall out through this crack here, through this path in the middle, and lose the screw. But I like this one. It was fairly inexpensive, stainless steel. It came with Teflon tape, either on this side or this side. It looks like it was on this side. I think it was on this side. And I took it off because I wanted to see how it would fare, and it did fine. All the magnets are below the surface. Nothing interferes. I think it's probably a little bit stronger now than it was before, just because that tape, any layers of tape you put in there between the magnets, puts the magnets a further distance apart from each other, and it just makes everything weaker. So I don't like to use that if I don't have to. Everything just flows in one direction. Now on this one it does make sense, kind of, to have the lanyard hole in the middle, because you're going to be using one side or the other. But again, you cannot use a solid lanyard like this one because then it won't close. The one that they provided with this, I'm pretty sure they provided one with this, has a very thin length, a little loop at the end, and then it has a wrist strap, and that thin loop you run through this first, and then tie it off, and then when this is closed, there's still enough room here and here for that thinner thread to come through. But you're not going to fit paracord through there or anything. And like I said, you just demonstrate, like I just demonstrated, you can't really put anything like a keychain loop or anything through that, because then it won't close the whole way. This is called the Gemini by 42 Cosmo in stainless steel. It's making an interesting pop sound, and I have attributed that to looking at this closely from the side, and it appears, I don't think you'll see it on this side so much. You might be able to see it a little bit on this side. It appears to arc up a little bit, and I think that's probably from me over tightening these screws down, or just, maybe just slightly poor design there. Anyhow, it is lifting up. It's not interfering with anything, but that's what's actually catching on both sides. And I had different reasons I didn't care for this one too much. I've learned to like it more than when I did the review. I wasn't too mean to it on the review, but when you compare this to the other 42 Cosmo mechanical, which would be the Mermaid, the Mermaid Reborn. I have that in stainless too. Go back and watch the video for this before you buy it, I think. The reason being is you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clicks, but on that last 6 click, if you push a little bit further, it'll go just a fraction of an inch further, and then it sort of sticks in there. And it's the same in the other direction. In the review video for this one, I take it apart, I show you exactly why it does that, and why I think the newer and better 42 Cosmo GD EDC collaboration called the Mermaid Reborn had a better setup on the inside. But if you remember that there are 6 clicks, and you remember if you jam it forward, it's going to stick a little bit, then don't jam it forward the whole way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just let yourself do that lightly. Then you have a perfectly good mechanical slider, I think. But my habit, my overall habit, is to always jam things forward and then bring them back, jam backward, forward. And I can still do that, but like I said, that I'm being denied that impact. There's the last little bit there that gets soft and it cushions the blow, and I don't care for that too much. And there's nothing I can do about it. I thought about things I might do, and I can't think of anything that wouldn't be too damaging, and I don't really want to damage it. This was another inexpensive, totally die-cast, no machining here, totally die-cast mechanical slider from Yeju Design called the X2 Armor. And it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clicks in either direction. It's actually fairly well made. Keep in mind, this was under $10. You can take it apart. There's your limiting pin, actually goes all the way through the body. I gotta be careful not to open it the whole way, and then hits that track in the middle, and that's what keeps this thing from going off the tracks. That pin right there. Anyhow, once you take this top off, you have access to these 2 glow sticks. It came with maybe 3 different colors, 3 different pairs of different colors of plastic glow sticks. If you had tritium, you could put them in there. I don't know why you would on a $10 device, but I put them in there for fun. What I've done on nicer pieces is I don't want to buy tritium vials. They're too expensive, and basically after 10 or 15 years, they're going to start to go dim on you anyhow. I like to find copper, usually copper wire of different diameters, and use that as a faux or fake trit replacement. Copper looks pretty neat in things when you do that, but these 4 magnets on this keep it attached when you're using it, and keep these glow sticks underneath the little windows here, and it covers up these 2 screw holes, and those not only hold the ball and screw in, but you can tighten them down or loosen them up in order to adjust the strength of the slider. And you could make this a little bit better if you wanted to take the time. This top part is a little wiggly, and I think all that needed to be done there, I'm not gonna do it. But I'll tell you what I think. I think that the limiting pin probably needs to be shaved down just a little bit. And then there's this little lip around this middle piece here. If you were to file that down, I would file this down first and then see how this sits, see if it rocks anymore. And then if it still rocks, it might be this limiting pin going down too far. And you might have to file that down a little bit. Just a thought, just a little tip for the do-it-yourselfers out there that might want to play around with this thing. Another thing is, this came with Teflon tape, 2 strips. Now they're not, what you're seeing here is an open cavity, which is just there because this is a die-cast mold. Maybe they thought it would save material. Maybe they thought it would add to the sound. I don't know why that's hollow, but it's hollow. I forgot where I was headed with that. Oh, the tape. I'm sorry, the tape. The tape was strangely, the person who put it on there probably put it on the wrong side, but they actually used the tape to cover up these holes. So it was barely sticking on there. It was just touching around the edges of the hole. So I got my own tape and applied it instead to this surface, or what would be the top half, and because it's flat the whole way across. So you might want to do that. That would help this work a little bit better. I mean, I tried it without the tape, but I think the tape in this case might help take up a little bit of the slop, a little bit of the slack. Yeah, this is great, man. For 10 bucks, if you want to get a kid something he can lose and not get upset about, yeah, go check out my review on this. I think it comes in silver, yellow, red, and blue. Next is the Pod L by 01EDC Mechanical. This one's unusual. Depending on how you have it put together, you get a different number of clicks in depending on which direction you're pushing it. This is how it came from the factory. These two little tabs are your limiters, and they come out. And you can put this together with the top part flipped over, so that when you're looking at the end, one side would have that little black keyhole there, and the other side wouldn't. You see, this side doesn't have either. And that changes the number of clicks. So the way it comes from the factory, I believe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 19 and 19. Doesn't matter how you do it. But when you take it apart and flip it over, it becomes a different number in one direction and a different number in the other. Forgive me for not remembering what it was. If you want to know, go check out the original review video. But this is, after I did the review of this, that's when I added the extra. There's a spring with a little brass cap on both sides and then a ball on both sides. And when it came from the factory, it only had the brass cap on one side. So I put the brass cap on the other side so it balanced out. Now that it made that spring a little bit shorter, made the compression of the spring a little bit stronger. Now it's a little bit tighter, and it made a world of difference. So I hope the videos I'm doing here not only help you when the thing falls apart on you, but I would encourage you, especially with your mechanical sliders, to take them apart and try different settings, try different ball materials, try different springs if you have them, try different lengths of springs. You'll get different results. Now, I've seen this twice now, and I wouldn't have seen it or known about it at all except for Sean Kusan over on the Fidget Fix had asked me about it. And then I saw a video of someone else, unrelated. I don't even know if they're on the groups. They must be, though. But they had this. It came to them, I don't know if secondhand or from the factory, but it was very loose, very sloppy. Something was wrong in here. And I was just dying to be able to get my hands on it and measure it, but without being able to take it apart and look at it close, I couldn't begin to tell you why it was doing that. But that could be a quality issue. This is Teflon in the middle, and you may want to check that as soon as you get it. Make sure that this is not too sloppy. It should not be too sloppy at all. Stainless steel again. I haven't said it enough. I always like to buy things in stainless steel because it's usually the least expensive. It's not the softest, and it's certainly this durable. Let's say it'll take a hit, and you won't cry if you drop it. It won't shatter like zirconium could potentially shatter or break. I think. Don't quote me. Don't check me on that because I'm not sure. But stainless steel, inexpensive, usually out of the bunch. But I've seen sliders that use copper plates, brass plates. Now, if it's a friction slider, that's a different story. But when it comes to mechanical stuff, I don't want soft metals. I don't want detents. Like if this was made out of brass, I wouldn't be very happy about it because I think that those detents would eventually almost wear smooth from the friction of the ball running across it. That's how soft brass. Well, there's different kinds of brass too, but I would advise you to stay away from soft metals, and that has nothing to do with the Lee slider. It's kind of a piece of shit all by itself. I don't mean to sugarcoat it. I'm so happy that I bought this from Mr. Kyle Spencer. His channel is the Fidget Focused, and he sold this to me for $30, and I knew I was taking a risk. I didn't buy this when it came out. It was interesting looking, but I didn't like the way the interior construction looked, and I thought it was cheap. And I really do think now that I have one that it's way overpriced and doesn't work very well. So I would avoid this. Now there's a newer version of this, but you're not going to find it. I call it the version 2, the Lee slider version 2, and they've gone away from this design entirely back to a ball and spring and detent system. But they have really fancy inlaid plates on the front with different metals and stuff, and that's where I think the most of the price is. But they are ridiculously priced. You know, you're talking about basically a slider that functions like this. Well, doesn't have 4 tracks, but a ball and spring and detents in this form factor with the fancy plate, and they want like $300-400 for them. So I don't know what's going on. Those are collaborations with Lee and another, I forget who, I don't even know. But these, I'm calling these the V1. It was available in lots of different materials. You can find it at INS Works, who I usually get along with and have had great deals with. They're asking quite a price for this. You can go to my video if you're interested. Check out my review video for this, and we'll talk about pricing and stuff like that, because different stores are offering wildly different prices for this, high prices. And I personally would not put money into this mechanism. I tried to fix it. The video includes the extent to which I went to try to make this work better. Now, if you really, really like the way it looks, then it'll work good enough for you probably. If you're just not a nitpicking OCD like myself, you might be okay with it. But I think the only reason that you would want to buy one of these is because you really like the shape or the engravings on it. And it looks the same engravings regardless of the material. But the big issue with this one is, of course, is it sticks. If this normally travels back and forth, right, like this and this. But if this twists at all, which it tends to do even when you're holding it in your hand, it wants to catch, and it becomes very, very, very tight at all. Now I'm forcing it to be rub against each other, but then it all has to do with these surfaces not being properly machined. I tried to polish it down. I think if I spent more time polishing it, I could probably get it better. But I did not want to invest any more time with it. I'll keep it in the collection. Occasionally use it as is. Yeah, it's a little frustrating. In the same way that that's a little frustrating, kind of, sort of. Amazing how close these are in size, too. Anyhow, I think that's about it. New stuff is on the way. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.